Hey everyone, it's your girl Desiree, and I am back with another live stream. I'm not getting on screen this time, I'm not dressed. This is just hopefully going to be a short topic. It's just something that I felt led to talk about, and it's interesting because I was already posting things earlier today about the Olympics. I was posting some stuff as far as like the history and things that I had heard many years ago. And I was just saying, that we just have to be careful of the things that we're watching and listening to, and how I want to be more intentional about that, like I was at one point, as far as what I'm watching, and how I haven't felt led to watch the Olympics this time because of some things that I was seeing that was concerning to me. Um, and then I saw Craig Lewis talk about the Olympics and the outrage behind it. I found him many, many years ago. It probably was like 15 years ago. Who knows how long it was, when he was doing like the hip hop series and talking about how there's just so much symbolism and ritualism and sacrifice and all these different things that go on when it comes to the entertainment industry. And these were things that I was always kind of learning about from when I was like a preteen. So when I hear people talking about it now, it's just kind of interesting because this information has been out for decades, and a lot of people just said, oh, it's just a conspiracy, and people are just acting weird. They're just weirdos, and they're just always digging deep into everything. But now we're seeing more and more people, even non-religious people, being outraged at some of the stuff that they're seeing that is pretty concerning. Um, but what really stood out to me about his video was talking about selective outrage, and I believe that I have a video on here talking about outrage and how people tend to pick and choose what they're outraged about. A lot of times we do that because there are certain people that we like, and we don't want to call out the behavior, because if we call out the behavior, that means that we have to then hold those people accountable or hold ourselves accountable. Maybe we can no longer listen to that type of music or watch those type of shows. So instead of calling it out with that particular person, we'll call it out with somebody else that we don't really like, because it's easy to do that than to say, you know what, now I have to call out this show that I've been watching for 10, 15 years that I love, because they're doing things in there that are very problematic. No, instead, I'm going to call out another show that's doing the same exact thing, maybe just in a different form, because I don't like that show. So he talked about the selective outrage. I don't want to misquote the stuff that he said. I was trying to go on Instagram so I could show some clips of it, but I wasn't able to really sign in through my computer. It was giving me some trouble. Um, so I just found it interesting. Let me see if I can share my screen. I don't want this to be too long. Okay, so let me see if I can share my screen. Okay. See, I was trying to reset my password, but it wasn't working. I don't even know if y'all could even see what I'm showing. Uh let's see. 'Cause I can't even tell if y'all could even see it. 1 second. Okay, I'm guessing y'all can see it. But I just find it interesting here how I'm seeing articles saying that they are like apologizing or saying that they didn't mean any disrespect regarding the Last Supper um, similarities that happened with the Olympics, and how a lot of people were outraged about it. I haven't read any of these articles, but I do plan to read them. But I typed in Olympics and the Lord's Supper because that was one of the main things that people were upset about. And then also the oops. and also the pale horse. See here, there's different articles on that. And this is not the first time that the Olympics has done like symbolism and ritualism and just things that have been pretty um strange, if I could say so for lack of a better word. But let me see if I can find images. So there's an image there. I don't know if y'all can see it. Let's see, no. And then as far as the Lord's Supper thing, some of you probably already saw it, so it's probably not anything new. But what he talked about that was like pretty interesting is that like Beyonce has been on a pale horse. And a lot of people were not outraged about that. Now, some people did talk about it because I tend to follow social media and I did see some people call out with Beyonce and a lot of the stuff that she has inside of her music videos and the things that she does as far as symbolism. I don't know if she's the one who actually says, "Let's put this in the music videos, let's put this on the tour, let's do," but, she is participating in it because she's doing it. I don't know if she knows about the symbolism behind it. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think she's ignorant. I think that she is an intelligent woman. But the whole point of bringing her up is because people tend to be very selective in their outrage. Like, they'll be outraged that the pale horse was in the Olympics, but they won't be outraged that Beyonce is riding a pale horse. You know what I mean? Because they like Beyonce and they love her music, so they're not going to be outraged when she does it, but they'll be outraged when it's done in the same pale horse, just in a different context, is in the Olympics. People get outraged, but they won't get outraged with a artist that they like. And he also talked about, the whole, um, mocking, like, the Lord's Supper and how people were upset about that. But then Kamala Harris has, like, this campaign with the RuPaul thing. I forgot what it's called, you can correct me. And they're like at the end, they're saying like, "Amen," like, "Amen," like, they're kinda almost, like, mocking, like, you know what I mean? Like, are these people really religious? Do they really believe in God? Why are they saying amen? And then they're saying it in a way that almost like they're trying to, like, cater to, like, a certain demographic by saying, "Amen." You know what I mean? Like, it's just kind of weird. It's pandering, but it's also very disrespectful because they wouldn't do that with other religions. Like, they wouldn't do that with Islam, they wouldn't do that with Hinduism, they wouldn't do it with Buddhism, they wouldn't do it with other forms of, other deities that people tend to worship. But for some reason, when it comes to, like, Christianity, they find no issue with constantly mocking, Christianity and using symbolism from the Bible and all that type of stuff. And there's even people who are not even religious who have been calling this stuff out and saying, "I'm not even religious. I don't even believe in God, or maybe I do, but I'm not religious." And I just find this outrageous because they would never do this to other religions. So why they continue to do that with Christianity? Why even add it in? It's the Olympics is not a Christian thing. A lot of these celebrities are not Christians. They don't follow Christ. They don't truly try to live a righteous life. They don't promote that. So why keep adding imagery into your content that is from the Bible or mentions, Jesus or whatever, and then try to, like, mock it and twist it and invert it, like when they have those inverted crosses and all this different symbolism. A lot of celebrities will use, like, crosses, and they'll use a church inside of their music videos and all these different things, even though they don't even, like, follow, those things, and that's not something that they genuinely live by. Why add that in there? So it just makes you wonder what's really behind that because, like I said, they won't do that with other religions, but they'll constantly keep doing it with Christianity. And even people who are not even religious are noticing that and calling it out. But the selective outrage topic is important because it's like you can't be outraged at the Olympics when they do it, but then when Beyonce does it, it's like, oh, it's fine because it's Beyonce. And there's a lot of music videos, like I said, that have a lot of imagery from the Bible, have a lot of Christian connotations. Sometimes they're just blatant blasphemy and mocking of Jesus, but then people won't call it out because they like these artists. See, me, I struggle sometimes with letting certain music go. I've talked about this before and how I regret going back to certain music because I had let a lot of stuff go. And it's addicting once you go back to it. But one thing is that I will always still call it out and I'll still will say, yeah, I may like this artist. Yeah, I may have a hard time letting this artist's music go, but I'm still cognizant and I'm still aware of the fact that this artist sometimes has things in their songs and in music videos that I don't agree with and that I find kind of concerning. And that's one of the main reasons why I want to let the music go. And I want to go back into being very intentional about the things that I'm listening to and watching, which is what I had said on my Instagram today. Um, Let me see. Okay, so you see stuff like this with Trey songs, like kind of like on a cross. Um, and I used to always really love Trey songs and the stuff that he would put out, especially when I was younger. Um, mm, I don't know who else it was. Let me see. Okay, I don't know. Is it the yeah, I can't really find any imagery on it. But you know how some artists will refer to themselves as different type of things that it's almost like they're referring to themselves like Hova, Jesus, different things like that. I was trying to find like if there was any imagery behind that. But there's just certain type of like terminologies that are being used to basically sorry, I got a text. Yeah, but there's just certain terminology that's being used that's basically almost blasphemous, and it's like, if you don't believe in God or you don't believe in Jesus, why even use those type of terms? Like, it just makes you wonder. Um, oh, and another thing too that I wrote down is politicians. So, like, when Craig Lewis talked about, like, Kamala Harris and how she has, like, the RuPaul thing, and they're like, "Amen," like, it's almost like a mockery because it's like, come on, are these people really religious? But they're gonna be like, "Amen," to try to like cater to a certain demographic. It's disrespectful though, because you would never do that with Islam or with a different religion. You do it because you feel like you can get away with it because a lot of times people who believe in Christianity, at least in this country, don't stand up and don't have outrage against the disrespect of their religion because other groups would never tolerate it. Other people in other countries are different because they're like willing to lay down their life for their Christianity. But here in America, we have become so complacent because of our culture, and a lot of the time because of our culture, like it's so much mockery and there's so much like comedy behind Christianity that we've gotten so comfortable with it. We're just like, oh, it's not a big deal. It's just a show. Like for example, Family Guy. I mentioned that in my stories today with how like you know, I even noticed that with Family Guy. I was saying with Karina Lou, she recently did a video on here talking about the disrespect of Christianity and how they make a mockery of it. And you don't see that with other religions as much in the media. But even with Family Guy, that was one of the things that used to always turn me off, and I used to watch it a lot because I'm like, why do they keep making these references about Jesus? Like, why do they keep making these references about God? Like, having God in the bed with like a condom and just weird stuff that's just so like blatantly blasphemous. And it's like, okay, you're an atheist or whatever, you don't believe in God, but why keep adding that in there? Why not just leave it out? If you don't believe in God, then just leave it out. You know what I mean? I don't understand why you're adding it in and then you're doing it in a mockery way. So it just kind of makes you question like what's really going on here and why does that keep happening? There's a lot of movies where there's a lot of like uh mockery as well. Like as far as that, what's that movie? Bruce uh what's the name of the movie? Bruce oh my goodness, I forgot the name of it. I had recently seen it when I was down south. I saw parts of it because I hadn't seen it in a long time. And you know, sometimes you watch things again as you get older, so it's trying to see the stuff that you may have missed when you were younger. Um, Bruce Almighty. Okay, I don't know why I thought it was something different because I know there's another one called Evan. Isn't it called Evan Almighty? Yeah, there's another one called Evan Almighty. Okay, so yeah, but basically, yeah, there's a lot of mockery with that stuff, and even when it comes to politicians, how long have I been on here? Oh wow, it's getting late. Okay, I'm gonna stop soon. So even like with politicians, like they will, pander to the Christians, even when it comes to Trump. Like he's pushing that whole thing of, oh, Christians vote for me, and that didn't just start. That started in his previous campaign of dealing with the evangelicals and the different types of Christians. And a lot of people are falling for that because they want Christianity back in America. They're seeing the debauchery, they're seeing the demoralization of the culture and society. They're seeing how they're targeting children and the disgusting things that they're marketing to children. They're seeing the violence and the crime. They're seeing all the blasphemy. They're seeing all the different things that are happening in society. And they're saying we need to return back to God, which, yes, like there is a lot of demoralization in society and it is problematic, but that doesn't mean that we need to unite church and state in order to do that. And a lot of people don't understand that. So they'll go to these politicians thinking that that's the proper way, when really that's a problematic thing because now you're involving the state into religious matters. And now the state can say, okay, well, if there's calamities and there's certain things that are going on in society that are problematic, let's reenact laws that are going to now make people worship this way or worship that way or follow this or follow that. And that's one thing that we don't want. Yes, we want people to have certain morals and values. We ourselves want to develop certain morals and values within ourselves, but that's not something that should be forced or coerced onto people. Or like, oh, you're not gonna be able to do this and do that if you don't follow that. It's supposed to be something that people do from their own conscience when their heart is being led to do something that is best. Because we all have freedom of choice. Yes, there are consequences, but we should not be forced or coerced or bribed or threatened to do things just like during the last 3 years or so, where we saw how the world changed, where people felt like they were being forced to make decisions in order to survive. And some people end up losing their jobs and losing their livelihood because they refuse to go against their conscience. That's not how it's supposed to be. But that's the direction that we're moving into. And some people think that's a good thing because, like I said, they want to change society and they're kind of tired of the problematic things that are going on. So, then you have people like, what's his name? Uh, oh Lord, I forgot his name. Uh, Yeah, Richard Dawkins, right? So he talks about how he is a cultural Christian, like how he does not believe in the Bible. I think he's an atheist, but he's a cultural Christian because he agrees with some of the stuff that is in the Bible. And then you have Elon Musk, who's now saying he would consider himself a cultural Christian as well because he doesn't really follow that, but he believes in some of the sentiments of the Bible. So we see that there's a lot of a push now where on one hand you have people mocking the Bible and mocking Christianity, and then you have the other hand where people don't really believe in it, but they're trying to push it. And it's just really weird. And people are not outraged about those things and how they're kind of making like light of these things and they're not really respecting it, but they'll get outraged about the Olympics. So I think the whole point of this live stream was basically that if we're going to be outraged about things, let's be objective. Let's look at all sides. Of course, you can't be outraged about everything. That's impossible because there's so many things to be outraged. If that's the case, you'd be outraged about every single thing in society. So I'm not saying be outraged about every single thing, but I'm saying like if you're going to talk about a certain topic, be consistent. Like when I talked about the Olympics and I was sharing this stuff, I wasn't really outraged. I was just more like concerned. Like, why are they adding that in there? Why are they doing this? Why are they doing that? That's weird. Like, why not just leave it out? Because even when I was younger, I was saying like I would notice that they would do like the torch thing, all these different like ritualistic stuff in the Olympics, and I would be like, what is that even for? Like, why are they adding that in there? Like, just start the Olympics and maybe have music or whatever and performances, and then start it. Like, what do you need to do all these ritualistic and symbolism aspects to it? Why is that necessary? But then when you start to learn about the history, it makes sense because there's a spiritual aspect to the Olympics, which is why we have to be careful with what we watch and what we listen to because there's a lot of spiritual things in almost everything. The whole entertainment industry has been infiltrated by things, and we have to be very careful. Um, so if we're going to be outraged about stuff, let's look at other things. Let's look at things as a whole. Let's not just call out one show, but then not call out the movies and the TV shows that are disrespectful to a religion, but they would never do that to other religions. Let's call that out because if people stop watching it and people stop supporting it, then they're not going to make any money. You know, if certain celebrities stop calling themselves certain terms that's almost like symbolic to like Jesus, and people stop buying their albums and going to their concerts and stop supporting them, then they would have to stop. But people are going to continue to support them because a lot of us are addicted to these celebrities. We're addicted to these shows. We're addicted to the music. We live in an American Idol society, like I mentioned before. So a lot of us idolize and prop up and pedalize a lot of these people almost like they're deities. But if we started seeing them as human beings who are faulty, just like we are, just like how we could call out our sister or call out somebody else that we know. I'm not saying nitpick and call out every little thing you see in people, but when it's something that is blatantly disrespectful and it's continuing to be put out there and it's continuing to be promoted to millions and millions of people, then it should be called out. At some point, people know what they're doing. There's no way that nobody in these people's camp don't know what they're doing. There's directors, there's editors, there's choreographers, there's artists, there's makeup artists, there's people who do the hair, there's people who create the physical props that are in these music videos or on these tours. Like there's so many people that work with artists. There's so many people that work on the set of movies. There's so many people that work on the set of TV shows. There's no way that you can tell me that not one person doesn't know if this stuff is inappropriate and they shouldn't put it in. That means that they was rehearsing this stuff and they were editing this stuff and they were going through this stuff over and over and over again to get it perfect. And at no point did nobody think, maybe we shouldn't put this out because this is kind of blasphemous. This is kind of disrespectful. Let's not do that. So they come out and they apologize, but they know what they're doing because they continue to keep doing it. They've been doing it for a long time now. So I'm not saying that some people genuinely don't make a mistake and they say, oh, I didn't think about that when I made this. I thought it was funny. Okay, whatever. We all make mistakes. But when it comes to the entertainment industry, there's a specific agenda, I believe, because like I said, these things have been going on for decades. They've been going on for a long time. And they becoming more and more blatant with it in your face. Before you had to kind of understand the symbolism, you had to kind of like study it. You had to kind of know it. You had to already be a free thinker and be searching for these things. Now it's just in your face. And even people who aren't even searching for it are starting to be like, wait a minute. That's strange. That's weird. You know, so it's so blatant. And they know they can do that because they can get away with it. So now they don't even care to hide it. They're like, yep, that's what we're doing. Oh, well, who cares? There's no respect there. It's like somebody who's cheating on you. If they know you ain't gonna leave, there's not gonna be no consequences. You gonna keep moving with them the same exact way. They gonna start cheating right in your face, and they won't even care. They won't even hide no more. They may even tell you that they doing it right in your face and embarrass you. Why? Because they know I don't have any respect for you because you don't stand on what you really need to stand on. But if I know that there are gonna be consequences, I'm either gonna be hiding it or I'm gonna stop. But I'm never going to be able to blatantly do it in your face because I know there will be consequences to that. And that's why they do what they do. That's why they don't even care to hide it anymore. That's why the politicians can pander to that stuff. They can say these things, all that. Even politicians who aren't even religious, they can now use that because they know that there's no consequences to it. And people are still going to vote for them. People are still going to support them. And people are not going to call it out. So if you're going to be outraged, make sure it's consistent. If you're going to call stuff out, make sure you call it out in one thing, but then call it out and also people that you like to. That's not easy to do, but that's where the change will come from. So that's all I have to say about that. And I hope that this kind of opened up some thoughts on the media because it's easy to get caught up in, oh, I'm going to be outraged about this. And I believe that's also an agenda. Let's put out certain things. A part of it, I believe, is spiritualism, and this is genuinely what they believe, and this is what they're promoting because they're actually doing ritualistic stuff. But I believe that a part of it is also strategic so that they can develop a certain outrage in people, so that they can also distract people from what's really going on. So now you're so focused on that, but you're not focusing on how they're trying to unite church and state with religious stuff and how people are falling for it because they want some change in society because of demoralization of society and how the uniting of church and state is problematic. But you're so focused on the Olympics or you're so outraged about the Olympics that you can't even have emotional regulation to be able to then say, you know what, there are celebrities who are also doing this as well. So let's call that out too. The whole entertainment system needs a revamp at this point. You know what I mean? You got police brutality, you got all these different things. There's so many things to be outraged about. And yes, there's a righteous anger. Anger can sometimes can promote growth. It can promote action. So anger itself is not a bad thing. But when we don't have control over it and we're not using logic behind it as well, and we're allowing ourselves to be swayed to and fro for every little thing, oh, I'm angry about this, I'm angry about that, that's how they can also manipulate you by using that emotional aspect to get you to agree or not agree with certain things so they can then push you towards a certain direction without you realizing what's really happening because you're allowing your emotions only to guide you in a certain direction. So we have to be very careful about that. There's nothing wrong with being upset about stuff, but we have to be consistent and we also have to be careful and vigilant in how we go about our outrage. So take care, and I will talk to y'all again soon. Let me know in the comments what y'all think about this whole Olympics thing, and hope y'all have a good night. Take care. Bye.